We are back with the Chopping It Up podcast, episode 6. You guys, we have a real good show for y'all. I am, of course, your co-host, Chartel.
And I'm Ferris up in this bitch.
Yes.
Hey.
And look, let me tell y'all about our guest. I can't even like say all the words that I want to say about him. So I'm going to let him do it. Like, Chris, let's do it.
What's going on, y'all? Appreciate y'all having me on. My name is Chris Pham. I don't even know where to start. I mean, I do so many things, I guess, professionally. I'm an equity partner at Frederickson and Byron, large law firm in downtown Minneapolis. I do business litigation and sports entertainment. I'm an entrepreneur, co-owner and investor of the Exchange and Alibi Lounge, downtown Minneapolis as well. I curate events. I do merch, raise kids. I'm a father.
Yes, raising kids.
I'm super ingrained in the community. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll dig into a little bit more as we.
It sounds like this is the perfect man I need to know if I get in trouble.
I'm like, trying to tell you, like, look. He didn't say he was a DUI lawyer, Ferris.
Exactly. That's what I was worried about last night. When we get into what we're going to talk about for Blase, it's like, hey, Chris, I need your help, bro.
Look, I'm trying to tell you. So, speaking of your business ventures, Exchange, Alibi and Lounge, that should be popping.
Yeah.
We were there last night.
Man, it was crazy.
And me and Ferris looking crazy. After trying to survive. So, I guess my first question is how did that come to be? Co-owner, you said, right?
Yeah. So when I was, I would say 6 or 7 years ago, I was at a different law firm and I was just, doing some business development, connecting with some folks, soliciting, their business for legal services. And one of my good friends, Dave, I've known him pretty much my whole life, last 30 years or so. And he was like, you should come on this lunch with me. I'm going to, pitch to do some financial advisement and planning stuff. You can talk about what you're doing in the legal space. And so, we did that. And, at the time they didn't have any legal needs, but fast forward shortly after that, the family that I pitched to, they are super entrepreneurial. They at one point owned like 35 Burger Kings in the Twin Cities, hotels, Denny's, all kinds of stuff. And also we're involved in the nightlife industry. And so, Club New York, which is the same space that we're in now, they were getting ready to, end their lease. And a group came together and said, hey, we want to open up a nightclub, in that same space. So approached me with the opportunity, asked if I wanted to get involved and invest in it. And that's how it came about. And we're getting ready to celebrate our 6-year anniversary this August.
Nice. Oh,
so,
I love it.
I like that. I like that, man.
Yes, that's the bomb ass shit.
So that's how that came about.
Nice. All right.
That's dope.
Yeah, it is. Last one of the other times I was there, I had a friend say, did this used to be Club New York? And I have to be like, child, I don't know.
Man,
I'm new, so I don't know.
It was Club New York.
But it sounds like it was, yeah.
I remember that shit when it was Fahrenheit. That's when I just turned 21. 20, matter of
fact. Fahrenheit was in a different space. So
I thought it was right there.
No, Fahrenheit is where Monarch is right now.
Oh, okay.
So that used to be Fahrenheit. So, I mean, before Club New York, it was like Element Nightclub, Foundation Nightclub. I mean, it's been like a venue for the last 30, 40 years down there. So, yep.
Because then it used to be Spin and Cream upstairs.
Upstairs, yep, where the poorhouse is now. That used to be that space.
Man, that was the shit.
I feel like I remember Cream.
Them Cream days.
Yeah.
You might have came in at the tail end.
I think I did, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I remember it. Then, it was gone.
Because it was gone, and then it came back for like a hot little second.
Okay.
Yeah.
But people
I was involved in that process.
Oh, okay.
It didn't, so after we had opened up the Exchange, we were just pretty much operating Fridays and Saturday nights. And so, the ownership group was like, hey, we want to do a hip hop Sunday. So there's like, hey, can you lead this charge? And they're like, we want to open like April 4th, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And they gave me like a 3-week heads up. Damn. And so I was like, all right, so I'm sitting at Noodles and Company for lunch and I'm just thinking, and, I like just start doodling on a napkin. I was like, I want to call this spot Cameo Nightclub. Okay. So we completely rebranded it for another night. Because at that time, we were doing mostly EDM shows on Fridays and Saturdays. And so to not cause any confusion, we decided to launch Cameo Nightclub on Sundays, geared towards the hip-hop crowd, 18 plus. And that, was extremely well. Like, we were killing the game. Nice. And then, my partners in the Exchange, they're also owners of the Poorhouse. And so they're like, hey, what else can we do with this? And so I developed a concept, which would be, unlike anything Minneapolis had, which was, Cameo downstairs and then Cream upstairs, Cream with a K. And the idea was to have, just one big venue, like 3 levels or whatever, and like, you can go in between the two.
Right.
Unfortunately, it didn't end up playing out the way that, I conceptualized it. So ultimately both Cameo and Cream got shut down. A lot of stuff going on in the city, violence, shootings, that type of stuff. And so that was the end of that.
So quick question, Chris. Like for, you got up and coming people that are trying to do what you're doing, right? Like my homie Keese. Like I know, who Keese is?
Yeah.
He's always throwing shit. Like what kind of capital do people need if they want to do this, right? If they're trying to come up and they're like, dude, I want to throw some shit. I want to, or even kind of get in contact, moving that circle.
Yep.
Like what do they need to get the ball rolling on that?
Man, it really just starts with the networking. That's where it all starts. So as I said earlier, like the way I even got involved in the exchange in the first place was through, networking and trying to build relationships and to connect with people. Right. And all that, it didn't work out on the legal side. I mean, it worked out in a whole nother venture that I did not ever anticipate coming about.
Right.
So for people who are interested in that, I mean, they got to get out there, right? If you want to be involved in the nightlife, you got to be in the nightlife.
Facts.
And so I often hear people approach and say, hey, I got this idea. Can I get a night, this and that? And, we're always open to people and their ideas and, wanting to throw events. And, usually if it's somebody we don't have a pre-existing relationship with, we're not just going to, be like, hey, yeah, just go do your thing. So like we'll implement certain, terms, to say, hey, to make this make financial sense, we got to pay people to work here, security, all that. So, you're going to have to meet certain bar, beverage minimums, stuff like that. And, we get a contract out there. This is how it's going to work out. Usually you keep the door if you want to charge a cover. We'll keep, everything else and, just pretty much go from there. And then as you do more events and as you become more successful, there's other opportunities.
Okay.
Have you ever been like surprised by someone who comes up with this, like an idea and they're like, hey, I want to pitch this. I want this night. And then like they get like hella people show up. You're like, damn, okay. I wasn't even expecting this. Like, at all.
Yeah, there definitely have been occasions where, people would reach out and say, hey, we just want to use this space. And I don't know what to expect. And they usually have a ton of people come out. And that has absolutely happened. And, then it's a recurring thing at that point. We're like, hey, we've done business with them. And that's what I'm experiencing right now. So obviously you guys know the pandemic, everything was shut down.
Yeah.
And so now that things are opening up, I'm starting to get those messages like, hey, we've done some dope parties with y'all.
That makes sense.
It's about that time. Can I get on?
Back out there.
Yep, exactly. So, just last week, I think I had like 6 or 7 inquiries and people were like, yo, can we do something? I've had, entrepreneurial high school students who are like, yo, we missed our prom last year. Like, can we rent out the exchange and throw a dance? And, people are, that's one thing that I would say was born out of this pandemic is entrepreneurialism. Like people are trying to figure out like, man, what can I do? Like I don't have a job or I'm just sitting at home. I need to find ways to, leverage time and opportunity. And I've started to see a lot of that.
Yeah, they actually said it was a study where it said that there's more Black entrepreneurs in 2020 because of the COVID, because of the stimulus. They said that like a lot of Black folks were actually using their stimulus money to start something new, which is dope.
Super dope.
Man, and it's smart though. Invest in yourself.
Like,
absolutely.
why not? Yeah. Like,
absolutely. That's when I started doing the merch was within the last year.
And that's what I want to ask about. Elevate Our Network.
Yes.
So please tell us about that.
Yeah. So I started Elevate Our Network 4 years ago. It was January 2017. And how that really came about was, when I started my legal profession, I was often going to like these galas and these bar affinity events and these happy hours. And it was like, I'm in a full suit. It's rigid. It's stiffy.
I got you. Yeah.
It wasn't comfortable for me, right? Because that's not my background.
Right.
So I grew up in North Minneapolis. And so,
okay.
So
you grew up in North Minneapolis.
I grew up in North Minneapolis.
North Side?
North Side.
Okay.
Yes. North Side.
Gotcha.
North Side Pride. And so, when I started going to these events, it was kind of like, awkward for me. And, as with anything with time, practice, and patience, I figured out how to navigate those rooms. But, at the same time, I started wondering like, why are there not events like this geared more towards professionals of color?
For sure.
Right. And so
exactly.
I decided, I want to create that space. There's the void there. Right. So I'm going to create a space for professionals of color to have, something to do on a weekly basis to connect with people. Because, there are, events geared towards professionals of color, but so often they're like, once or twice a year, summer social, winter event, whatever.
Sure.
And it's like outside of that, how do you really connect and develop meaningful and sincere relationships seeing somebody twice a year?
Exactly.
Right. So, it's something that I wanted to create where it's like, look, you don't have to come every week, but just know that we're here every week for in the event you want to come. And so started that, and we started doing featured professionals.
Okay.
So what we would do is we would, identify 2 professionals of color and, just highlight them, utilize social media platforms and say, this is this individual, this is what they do, this is who they are. And within like weeks, people were like, hey, how do I be featured? How do I do this?
That's awesome.
Because it's all free, so we're not, charging people for advertising or marketing.
Yeah.
And there's no cover, obviously. We just want people to come out and enjoy themselves. And so,
definitely,
quickly it grew into us doing more like specific industry events. So we'll do like a health and beauty series where we'll highlight, professionals, several professionals in that space. We did like Minnesota Black Girls Rock, Distinguished Gentlemen. And so these are all professionals of color providing people a platform,
I love that.
New faces of entrepreneurs. And so we did that. And it just got so big, because we started in the Alibi Lounge, which is a much smaller space. I don't even know if y'all have been in there.
Well, that's when you come downstairs and you go
to the right. Yeah. So that space is, accommodates about 120 people.
It kind of reminds me it gives me that speakeasy vibe.
That's exactly what the vibe is. Yeah.
Okay.
More loungy, more speakeasy. Has this, own bar and DJ booth over there.
I've never been over there.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, I'll give you a tour next time you come down. But that's where we started.
Okay.
And then like within 6 months, we were on the other side because it just
so big.
It just, grew so big.
Yep.
So that's really how it started. That was the foundation of it.
I keep getting these questions based off of what you're saying because that's dope.
Yeah.
And like, so were your parents, were they entrepreneurs? Like what did your parents do? Because like, because some people are just born a hustler and others, they see their parents doing it and they're like, oh, well, they're taught this is what you need to do.
Yeah, no, I would say 50-50. So both of my parents were immigrants who came from Vietnam at the end of the 70s, tail end of the Vietnam War, came to California. They met, and almost immediately, they first had my sister, who's 1 year older than I am, and then I was born and we moved to North Carolina for like 3 seconds, and then ended up in Minneapolis. And, by the time I was in 4th or 5th grade, my dad had left the picture. He actually had gotten married and had 2 kids in another country, before he even divorced my mom. And,
gotcha.
I think a lot of times people think, now I'm going to be in a broken home, single parent household. Like, when he left, he completely left. Like he did not contribute financially. I just didn't hear from him. He ghost. Right.
Damn.
I know they had to have some effect, but keep going.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people think, that damn, this is damaging or traumatic or whatever. But for me, it was actually like a breath of fresh air.
Really?
And the reason why that was is because my dad was super abusive to my mom, mentally, emotionally, physically. Like I've seen her seen him put her in the hospital, like just crazy stuff. Right. Yeah. And so, seeing all that as a young kid, like it really forced me to kind of, man up. Right. Cause it's just my sister and my mom and I. And so, with that, it was always like, feeling like I had to be a provider. Okay. Right? I had to take care of stuff. I had to be the strong one.
You're the man of the house.
The man of the house. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And so, my dad was the perfect role model of how not to be as a man, actually. But what came out of that is, so my mom, she's not the type to ask for help. Right. Okay. And so she did it all on her own. She started working 3 jobs, just to provide, put a roof over our heads, food on the table, clothes on our back. And just seeing like the grit and grind and the hard work, of her perseverance, kind of like really, urged me to be like, hey, like, it doesn't matter, what our upbringing is, how we're born, what we're born into, it's like we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
It's just what you gonna do with it.
Yeah, what are you gonna do with it? If you want to get it out the mud, get it out the mud.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chris's mama.
Look,
over there.
shout out
Hustling.
Mama Pham. Yes.
Mama.
I just could talk to you all day. You're just delightful. So many questions. Before we dive into like our interview questions, right? Yep. And our segment, which is titled Asian Hate and Black Lives Matter. I just want to name that you said elevate our network. There's no cost. You come if you want. There's like these features. I love that because so many times I think cost prevents people of color from being elevated in that way, right? You have to pay to like... Easily. I'm making stuff up, but you have to pay to be part of Forbes, whatever. I'm making all this stuff up, right?
Pay to play.
You got to pay to play, right?
Yep.
So I think that's such an important feature. And I just want to like name it because
Yeah.
So many times it's like, okay, what do I have to give you to like be, elevated so people can know? And you're like, nothing. Just come if you want to.
You just come. Yep.
And you get it. So
yeah, absolutely. That's the thing.
I just love that.
I think that's not to cut you off. I think that's beautiful because it's like, yeah, it's free, right? So you're letting people, come as you are, come with whatever you have. And then you're giving that platform, right? And then at the end of the day, it's like, all right, so you have, these people coming in. It's like, all right, so I got you in for free.
Right. Now, what you going to give me?
Exactly.
Like, right.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's what you're looking for, but I'm just saying it's like, all right, at the end of the day, now that I brought in.
Like,
exactly.
At least for Black people, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, they're like, all right, so if I come in for free, like, what are you... Like, what do you have hanging over my head? I think that's what people be worried about.
Right. Yeah. Like always looking over my shoulder, right? Like you did this for me. So when are you going to want your favor back?
Exactly.
Right. And that's, I think a lot of times when people think about networking, that's the approach. And that's completely wrong.
Yep.
So my approach to networking was never, where's my next client? I'm a lawyer. Where's my next client? Where's my next case? My approach had always been, who can I help and how can I help?
Love that.
Right. So as a lawyer at a large law firm, I know that 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to get a client, from the networking events that I host.
Okay.
Part of the reason, as I said, was to fill a void, and what, kind of solidified the approach that I had. Like about 6 months after I started Elevate Our Network, I was sitting on this diversity in business panel in downtown Minneapolis, room with like 150, professionals, mostly white folks. And, the whole discussion was based around a study that was done by the St. Thomas University School of Business. And they had surveyed 1,200 professionals of color, and they wanted to know, why is it so hard for the Twin Cities to retain professionals of color, particularly transplants?
Go ahead. I read the same
so that
one.
study, right?
Get it. Yes.
So I sat on this panel, and, 2 major findings that really stood out to me. One was, of the people surveyed, over 50% said, outside of my immediate employer, I don't meet anybody else.
No connection.
So if I work at Target, I know all the Blacks, Latinas, Asians, Hispanics, everybody that works at Target. But I'm not meeting people from Best Buy or Cargill or 3M. And so that told me like they're siloed. It's just like within this small community at Target. The other finding was that over 50% said there just ain't nothing for us to do outside of your one-off concert or comedy shows. Like there's no space for us.
Nothing.
So I stood in front of this room and I said, nah, that's wrong. I created this space like 6 months ago. So they're like, well, what is that space and what is it and how does that work? And I told them, I was like, this is what Elevate, at that time it was called Elevate Your Network.
Okay.
And I actually changed it to Our Network because I wanted to be inclusive.
I love it.
It's about us.
Of course.
It's like, this is our network.
Right.
And I kind of adopted that from, what I learned being a lawyer. There's this, the boys club, right? You think about it, old white men, who are sitting on top of their ivory towers.
That's it, looking down on all of us. Like,
and they're passing business to each other. They got a business model that works, right? And so I'm like, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. That model does work, but I want to do it for our network and for my people and for our professionals, right? And so that's why I started the networking thing. It was like, look, just come in. Like it's low stress environments. Exactly. It's informal,
I got a question for you, man. Because Chartel was going to give me hell for always trying to change the goddamn name of our podcast, right?
Fierce was playing, that's why.
Because it's like, you had to have that pop, right? You had to have, you know what I mean? So how long did it take you to come up with Elevate?
Elevate,
or was it a different? Because you said it was already a different name.
No, it was. At first it was Elevate Your Network,
right?
And then it just changed to Elevate Our Network.
And from the beginning, it was Elevate Your Network, and then it went to So I didn't know if you had something like different. Exactly.
I literally just sat down again, just with some paper, and I just thought about, why do people network? What is the whole concept of it, right? And, you hear about it all the time, like started from the bottom, now we here, and everything you do in life is to elevate, whether that's financially, professionally, personally, like everybody wants to get to a better place from where they're at.
Yes.
It's not where you start, it's how you finish, right? And so, I mean, that mantra, that name just filled that, all in one word, so.
That's dope.
Okay. I love that. Oh, you're so inspiring.
Yeah, no.
I legitimately love it.
Man,
so.
Like real talk, I was really excited to get you on here, man. Just from the vibe that you give off, because once you meet people, like, all right, this is a cool motherfucker, right?
Yeah. I have like 3 new friends because
based off of that. Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Like, I
that's
met
what
some
networking
cool ass
is.
people down there.
like 3 new friends. Like,
man.
I love it. So
That's the thing, because I think when people hear about networking, they're like, there's a stigma. It's like, I don't know how to network. I'm socially awkward.
this
I'm
give
shy.
and take,
whatever.
right? Yes.
I mean, but it's when I speak to primarily high school students and and I talk about network, I'm like, look, before you met your BFF or your significant other, y'all was complete strangers.
Exactly.
Y'all didn't know each other.
That's true.
How did you develop that friendship or that relationship? Networking is no different. You connect with people. You chop it up.
Of course.
Right? What we doing?
Yep.
You get to know them. You figure out, what your interests are, and it grows from there.
Yes.
You just be your genuine, authentic self, and that's really all it is. And I got testimonies for days about elevate our network. Like I've, people that I've met 3 or 4 years ago, and now I'm actually working with them as a lawyer, and they're entrepreneurs, and I'm helping them grow, and that's the whole point of Elevate, right? You got an idea, you got a vision. Look, how do we execute it? How do we get you to that place you want to get to?
Exactly.
So the lawyer, the entrepreneur, king of networking, like what entrepreneur did you look up to when you were young?
I'd
Or
say,
even now.
Jay-Z.
Oh, man.
Really?
Jay-Z,
Okay.
yeah. That's somebody, I mean, what he's doing is amazing, right? So, and, it was his perseverance that was really inspiring, right? I mean, he had a talent. He was confident in his talent.
That's right.
Nobody gave him a shot. Well, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'll figure out my own way.
Exactly.
Right. If you don't, allow me on this path, I'm gonna dig and build my own path.
Title.
Exactly. Right.
Like this man makes
I'm gonna do it
title.
myself.
That's what he
Sold it.
does.
And now look at him.
And that's the
all
thing.
this
Like,
shit.
Look at him.
and that's the thing. And like in the process, while he's elevating, right, he's reaching back while he climbs. He's giving others opportunities.
That's exactly right.
And providing a platform for others to succeed. Like, with the whole title thing, it wasn't just like, I'm going to go in and do this thing with title and make a bunch of money. It was like, nah, Drake, Nicki, Wayne, whoever like were those investors with him, man, they all cashed out.
All eat.
It wasn't just me, just
Right.
Jay-Z.
Right.
It was like, yo, my
Man,
team.
And he's always like that though, because he did the NFL thing with Kaepernick.
Yep.
Where he went in and made sure that the Super Bowl was more diverse. The Super Bowl halftime performance. He helped what's my man 21 Savage. Like he was getting ready to get
when
deported.
Yeah.
And my man came in
He
with
should
his
have been lying
top
about
flight
being. What did he
lawyers.
say? Lying from being in Atlanta. He shouldn't have been doing that shit.
Right.
So that sounds like
I
karma to
think,
me.
but I feel
Don't
like
be lying
so
about
he
my
came from Europe,
Yes, from Britain, right?
from Britain, from
Yes.
London. But I feel like he's lived here for a minute. He just never got that status.
But he was lying about that shit. You knew what's up.
Right.
But I'm glad Jay-Z helped.
But yeah,
But that's the point. The point is that Jay-Z's looking out for you.
Man,
right?
he is.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. Like when he gets into those positions where he can, he does.
does.
Like when he was the president of Def Jam, like it's my understanding DMX had owned the company like millions and millions of dollars. Jay-Z got into that role, and even though him and DMX had some issues, whatever, all that shit aside, he like wiped off all his debt, wrote it all off.
That's what's up.
For DMX, rest in peace DMX. But like that's what I'm saying. Like
Right.
when he gets in these positions,
That's what's up.
to succeed, like he's making sure like, yo, I'm bringing as many
Everyone's
people
eating.
as I can
Yep.
with me, because that's the whole
Exactly.
point, right? I mean,
and not like this holding something over your head, or you got to give me something for me to help you.
Right.
Which I think historically can be found in our community, right?
Yep.
Like
yeah, quid pro quo. I mean, that's people are always thinking like, I do this for you, what are you gonna do for me?
exactly.
But
When you can just do it to help someone.
right, and that's the thing. Like, and even when you just do that, the universe will conspire
Yep.
to help you, right?
Agreed.
So if I help you today, I'm not going to ask you tomorrow, like, what are you going to do for me? But in 10 years from now, you're going to be in a position where I don't even know, and you're helping me out.
There you go.
Facts.
And that's really how it works. You just put out enough good energy and vibes, man. Like,
And you get it back.
You get it back tenfold. That's absolutely right.
We had last week we had our guests on Amber from Turner Girl Cosmetics and Tiara with Get Healthy Tea, and they said the same thing. Like Amber's like, she, does cosmetics. So she's like, I'm not about to like not help you do what I do. Like, I'm
Right.
probably not gonna tell you everything,
exactly.
right? But I'm gonna help you like make lip gloss. I'm gonna tell you how I got to where I am. I'm not gonna hold these secrets, right?
Yeah.
And Tiara said the same thing, because what do we benefit from that?
Right.
So I think we have to like change that narrative. Exactly. Like
It's the crabs in the
elevate
barrel
our
mentality. Too many people
Yes.
had that.
Yes.
It's like you feel like to get out this bucket, you got to pull somebody
You gotta
else
pull
down, or
somebody
you got to
down.
stand on somebody's
Yes.
shoulders to get ahead of them. But
Yeah,
that's
and in the reality, everybody's staying in a bucket.
that's it.
Everybody's staying in a bucket.
And that's the thing. Like, as a lawyer, I am one of very, 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 very few, attorneys of color at my firm. I mean, this is a problem nationally, not just in the Twin Cities, and, you know, one of the things that I'm super interested in is like, look, I want to help mentor and develop, you know, those up and coming law students of color, other diverse attorneys. Representation matters. And we need a critical mass. Like
Agreed.
that's, you know, and like for me to become a shareholder in my firm, become a partner in a firm, that's, you know, as one of my partners, that's rarefied air.
Some big shit.
Right? I mean, like that's like 1%.
Yes.
You know, so,
oh, gosh.
but because I've navigated, you know, the landmines, the unwritten rules, and had to deal with the bullshit and figure it out, man, you best believe I'm gonna share that same wisdom with everybody else coming through them doors. Like, look, this is how I got here. It might be the same path for you, it might be different, but however I can help, I want to help.
And you said you were in grad school in 04 to 06, right?
Yep, out in California.
So what did that class makeup look like the diversity wise? Because were you the only person of color in there?
You know what? I was in that cohort. I was. So you know, that's when I was growing up. What I realized that like as I matriculated and went further and further in school, I saw fewer and fewer people who looked like me. You know, from grade school to high school and then even college, right? And then especially in grad school. And once I got to law school, man, I didn't fit in at all. Like I was showing up to class, sweats and Timbs and Jordans, and you know, people looked at me like it was like, who is this person? Like, does he belong here? And that's exactly what it was like. And you know, by the time I got to my last year of law school, I did this research project with one of my buddies, and it was, you know, looking at diversity in the legal profession, and the metrics were terrible. Really? And I was like the fuck did I get myself into? Yeah, like this wasn't built for us. Damn. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, man, I'm trying to break those barriers. I'm trying to knock down those obstacles, and
I cannot with you. I'm obsessed.
You strictly defense?
No, I do business litigation and sports entertainment.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So sports entertainment, that's a practice group that I helped launch within my firm 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
It was a way for me to intersect my passion with my practice, right? So I love sports, I love music. And while I've been litigating for the last 11 years, it was like, you know, I want to be able to work with the people I want to work with, right? And so I was like, and I can relate, and you know, they can relate with me. So like when I go to client meetings with professional NBA players, I get to wear, you know, hoodies and sneakers because that's what they're gonna be wearing.
So you ain't gotta show up in a whole suit and tie.
That's exactly
doing the most. Look, introduce your girl to somebody because like I'm just saying, you know, I can like, I can like show up to places. So you let me know, child.
And you know Chris's response? Bring your ass to exchange.
Look, that's what my ass be at. So I gotta stop drinking them gin and tonics.
They got a lot of beautiful people up in that place.
I don't know what you got with them gin and tonics, but them shits got some erasure.
Man, it's the 2-for-1s. That's because you started early.
And look, and then I'm like a self-victim because later I'm like, oh no, I don't know what happened. Bitch, you've been drinking all fucking night. Like that's what happened.
You see Men in Black when they got that fucking neuralizer shit? Your ass.
That's what the drinks are. That's me. That's why I woke up this morning. I was like, what day is it today? Okay, I'll be showing up. Make sure you bring out your like fancy friends too.
Hey, they all come out and support.
I have a question about kids. So my lady friends, and I talk about this, right? In terms of like raising children. I don't have any kids. I have 2 dogs. And some people will say like, my kids like will go through the trials and tribulations that I had to for, I don't think another reason other than like, just because I had to do it, right?
Exactly.
And so my friends and I have a different perspective and like, no, we reached where we are to make it easier for our kids. So when you talk about like, you know, helping like high school kids and like law students and stuff, giving them this insight and this information so it's not so hard for them or maybe hard in different ways. Yep. As a father, is that kind of your same perspective? Is it like I paved the way for my kids? So hopefully they won't have to struggle in this way that I did.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
that's a good question.
So I got 3 kids and they are absolutely my why.
Love it.
You know what I'm saying? It's like all the bullshit that I experienced in my upbringing, like I never want that for my kids, right? So, you know, I had my first son when I was in law school, second year of law school.
Okay.
Damn.
Then I had my second son in my 3rd year of law school. They're a year and a day apart.
Okay. My sister and I are 14 months apart. So
my sister and I are as well.
Really?
Yeah. So like when I sat for the bar exam, I had an 18-month-old and 6-month-old at home. Like,
how'd you even focus?
I have no idea how I did it. Like you talking about blacking out at Men in Black. Like I couldn't even tell you.
Look, I know that bar exam is no joke.
Like, right. And you got a whole family at home.
Man. So like once I got through that, even though I don't remember how I even was able to accomplish that, I was like, there's no looking back. Like I got mouths to feed and, you know, I want my kids to have a better everything than I've ever had. And so, I mean, that legacy, that's why we hustle and grind and do what we do.
Exactly. You know? How did you find yourself in the legal profession? Like,
man, by default.
Shut up.
Y'all won't even, man. So
shut up.
Growing up, my mom was like, you're going to be a doctor.
Okay.
You're going to be a doctor. And that's a super common theme in Asian households,
Okay.
particularly.
The doctor path.
The doctor path, right? And so I'm a first generation college. Like neither one of my parents went to college.
Okay.
I don't even know if my dad finished high school, right? And so for me, I was like, damn, like y'all ain't even get, like if I get to college, that's a big thing,
right,
But for them, I was like, no. My mom was like, you're gonna be a doctor, and so. I got stellar grades, and when I started my freshman year of college, I was doing pre-med. I was taking bio, chem, all these labs. I hated the shit.
Did you do OChem?
God damn.
That was a turning point.
Ooh, let
right?
me tell you.
That was absolutely the turning point. So my sophomore year, I'm taking OChem, 8 o'clock class, auditorium with hundreds of kids, and my guy was in the class with me like every morning. We waking up when the class is over, and I'm like, yo, what are we doing here, dog? He was like, I don't know. Like, you're in pre-med. You got to be here. And I was like, I'm not doing this shit no more. Like that OChem did it for me, right?
I feel like that class is a turning point.
That was my turning point. So I was like, all right, I got to figure out how I'm going to break my mama's heart and tell her I'm not going to be a doctor. So once I got
squander all her dreams.
Exactly. So once I got the courage, it was like, all right, Mom, I'm not going to be a doctor. Her first question was like, okay, so what are you going to do instead? You're in college. I was like, I think I'm going to be a lawyer. She was like, oh. That's prestigious. I like that. Okay, you'll be a lawyer instead? Cool.
Okay.
Man, I ain't gave it 2 seconds of a thought. I had no idea I was going to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just said, I'm going to be a lawyer. And I don't know if I put that in the universe or manifested that or what. So then now I'm about to graduate from undergrad. Mom was like, oh, so now law school, right? Because you're going to be a lawyer.
I love that.
And I was like no,
fuck.
I'm not ready for that. I was like,
nah, bro. I was
bro.
just playing.
I was like, no. So when we talk about, I moved to California, I was like, you know what? I graduated from the U of M. All of my peers are still here. Like, if I stay in Minnesota, I'm going to do the same shit I've been doing for the last 4 years in college.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out to California on my own. I'm going to go to grad school full time. I'm going to work full time because it's expensive as shit out there.
Yes. Fuck.
Well, that's what they say, child.
And so I went out there and I was like, look, between kicking it full time, school full time, working full time, I was able to manage my life and, and everything. So I was like, you know what? And in my cohort, there's a lawyer, and she was like, yo, you should really look into law school for real. I know your story, but she was like, you should just take the LSAT. If you get into law school, you might as well go.
So wait, what did you go to grad school for?
Criminal justice.
Shut the front door.
Yep. So, and that's the thing. So when I decided not to do pre-med, I changed my major to sociology, law, criminology, and deviance.
Okay.
And it was because it was a personal interest of mine.
Gotcha.
Right.
I just like to understand what's going on in society and, all the bullshit that comes with that. So I was like, personal interest. I don't got to take math. I don't got to do labs.
Let me tell you, I'm a psych
up.
grad here, so I get it.
Yeah. So that's really, how it happened. And so I while I was doing my master's thesis, I took the LSAT, got good enough scores to get in, got a couple of scholarships. So while I wanted to stay in California, I had to take the free money and come back here.
Man, you don't have to go deep into it, but what was your thesis about?
My thesis, oh man, that was so long ago. It had to do with why in families, right? If you have a brother and sister, let's say y'all two are related.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We are totally cousins, by the way.
Same peer group, same parents, same exposure to society. Why is it so common within sibling groups for one person to be the straight A student, stellar grades, on they shit, no problems, and then the other one is
takes a totally different path.
Criminal,
yo,
banging.
Let me tell you that though.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that, Chris.
And it always seems like it's the younger child because they're more spoiled. They get the
what did your thesis show?
Because I see,
what?
And I might be completely wrong, but I see
baby sister be
what I see though is always that younger kid because
that's you. You're the younger kid.
Yeah.
You're problematic.
I am problematic.
Your older brother is also problematic, but whatever.
So it was inconclusive because there's just so many external factors that came into play.
Yep, that makes sense.
But I mean that type of shit, it's interesting to see.
It is, right?
Yeah.
It is interesting. No,
man, how long did it take?
I love that.
Man, that's just wild. Like when I hear people, I got to do this thesis or I'm doing a dissertation, and it's like the amount of time and
I knocked it out
and
quick.
Stuff that goes into that shit.
Man, I did my entire master's program in 18 months, and it was a 2-year program. And I was like, my professor who wrote my letter of recommendation for law school, he was like, Chris should have taught the class. He was done with his thesis before like anybody even got started. I was like, and that's because I wanted to kick it. Like I mean.
Chris, I got other shit to do.
Look, I was living in California.
Worried about these damn books.
Man, I'm like, we taking trips to Mexico and Vegas. It's right here. I'm having fun. I was like, oh, you want to go, to Seattle to play in a basketball? Yep, like sign me up. Let's go hoop. Like I was just living life.
Go, Chris.
So I was like, let me just knock this out.
I'm
Man,
dead.
knocked it out and
I love
went
that.
from there.
Okay.
You are amazing. I just cannot.
Yeah, that's
Thank
dope.
you. Appreciate that.
Man, so this might be on a kind of more touchier subject, but like in your opinion, like what do you think is like the biggest obstacle or disconnect between the Black community and the Asian community as far as like, you know, strengthening that?
Because you grew up in North Minneapolis,
Right,
which is
exactly.
historically Black, right?
It is.
Okay.
So, I mean, man,
From my
all of my
understanding.
peers were Black growing up.
Okay.
You know, and, you know, so my ex-wife is African-American.
Okay.
My kids are Black and Asian.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was such an interesting dynamic that I never even thought about until more recently.
Gotcha.
You know, and even within my own family, they wanted me to date my own,
Okay.
right? You know, it was like
So your own, like, I guess for our
Asians,
listeners,
or
Asians,
probably
so-
Vietnamese.
I was
but
I was just gonna say
Okay.
that because I know
That's what I was
I
gonna
feel like
ask
there's
too,
it's always
like-
like, well, if you're Vietnamese or if you're
better find
Cambodian,
another
you need
Vietnamese
to find
or another
you know,
Cambodian.
Exactly.
Like,
Yep.
we're not doing that. So that's what I was
right.
wondering.
And,
Okay.
and specifically, like, Black people are out. Like,
yeah.
you're
Which
not dating
I
Black
hear.
folks, you
yeah.
know? And so, you know, for me, I don't know if like I even knew what I was doing when I was in high school, but everybody I dated had always been Black or biracial or, you know, something
Yeah, I
other than
see
Asian.
you.
I've probably dated one
see
Asian
you,
in
Chris.
my entire life, right? You know, so it's kind of like, you know, I was rebellious. You know, I went against the grain. Like, I think part of my family disowned me at one point.
Gotcha. Shit.
You know,
Wow.
like my family.
Like when
in
you married your
California-
wife?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
They were like, you do that, we're not fucking with you.
Shit.
Pretty much. And I was like,
That's
all
sad,
right.
man. Sad as fuck.
You know,
It is.
but it's super sad. But the good thing is though, like when you take those bold steps and go against the grain, that's how you facilitate change,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so by doing that, I'm cool with my family now. And shit,
The
one of
same
my
ones
young
that, like, disowned
one of my
you.
young cousins just had a baby with a Black man, and it was
Okay.
her parents who were part of that. I mean, so it's
Gotcha.
kind of like, listen, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I believe in what I believe in. I mean, love is love, so
That's it.
fuck it, you know.
Yeah.
So it was like disheartening to see more recently where, you know, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but when Asians were getting hurt, you know, there were some people saying like, well, where the fuck were they when Black Lives Mattered, you know,
People do
and vice
have been
versa.
saying that, yeah.
you know, and to me, none of that matters. You know, it's like
it sounds like it's that tit for tat.
right.
Like instead of just being there for people.
Right.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. Like, I mean, we're the human race.
Yes.
That's all it should be.
And I feel like it exposes, because I've said it plenty of times, like family isn't always blood, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it lets you know, like, all right, I see who you really are. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then you can rock with the, you know, family that's just like, man, I'm gonna let Chris be Chris. I'm gonna let Chartel be Chartel. I'm gonna let
Right.
Ferris be Ferris. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right. It's like, you know, the relationships that we develop isn't based on our ethnicity and it's based on the
Exactly.
culture that we're comfortable with.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I grew up in North Minneapolis around all Black folks. And so no surprise, you know, that's
Did you go to
what I'm
North?
attracted to. I went to De La Salle High School.
Oh shit.
You know,
oh.
so that was another like turning
That's a good ass
That's
school,
a
right?
good school.
You on the island.
Talk about
You on the
that.
I was on
island.
the island. Yeah, I got a full scholarship.
Good for you.
You know, to go to De La Salle. Otherwise, my mom wouldn't have been able to afford it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it was.
Because you're gonna be a doctor.
That's exactly right. So she thought. Yeah. So,
Right? I love that shit. I think it's so important to like name that, right? Like family isn't always blood. Color doesn't always matter in the sense of support, I think, right? Like I can love you and support you for your values, right? You don't have
Absolutely.
to, you know, what do they say? All skin folk ain't kinfolk.
That's right.
I'm about saying about Kamala, but I'm just saying all skin folk ain't
Okay.
kinfolk, whatever, but I'm just saying. So
That's exactly right.
Yes.
You know,
And-
if we like to do the same shit,
why we can't kick it together?
Man,
like,
it don't matter
I don't care
who
what
it
your skin
is.
color is. Why we can't just kick it?
that's exactly right.
Exact-
You know,
yes.
like, and that's it's that inclusivity. That's what it's about.
I remember when Toby Keith's was a thing. That's when I like around the time I first moved here. Actually,
Oh, that shit was kind of fire.
it
that
was
in
fun.
West
I
End.
went the last weekend before they closed, and
That's how you met. Never mind.
so went, and it was bomb AF. And I like country music, right? Like I don't like that
Me
like
too.
real like bluegrass, like tang like shit.
Yeah.
Like,
twangy
you know what I mean?
shit,
Where I don't
but
like
yeah.
that it
So
hurts
the
my ears.
country, like with
But, like,
Nelly
Geor-
involved.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because I was literally about to say Florida Georgia line. So yes.
Yes.
So I like that. I like Sam Hunt, although Sam Hunt be playing. Some
Morgan-
body,
Morgan Whalen.
Whatever. Don't talk about him. I like that song.
Man,
too,
we didn't
but he
even bring
playing
that
with
man
Ingrid.
up.
I know.
But anyway,
Morgan
keep
Whalen
going.
be playing. But I like that kind of country. So I went to Toby Keith's, and of course, bunch of white people. But like, we all get to have fun because we were there for like one thing, right? So
Right.
you know, it wasn't like, what are you doing here? Or
That was
whatever,
that commonality.
Yeah, it was like we all like country music, we chilling, we dance, and we all like to drink, right? So why can't we all be here?
Why can't we get together?
That's the vibe I enjoy, right? Like we all here, so why we can't be together?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think sometimes people think that things have to be mutually exclusive, right? And it
Exactly.
doesn't. Like, yes, I'm a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm a professional. but I like to listen to ratchet shit.
Yes, right.
I like to
You like to turn up and have fun.
Like, you know, I want to be
life is
who I am.
life is too
tell
motherfucking
you.
serious.
It
You have to
is.
get that break.
But it was a process because I'll tell you, like the very first day when I was a full-time attorney, I'm in my office and like I need music to get in the groove, right? When I'm working, like when I'm studying music, whatever.
What's your groove song?
I mean, at that time it was like Lil Wayne, Drake, you know, and so I'm in my office and I'm like, let me go close this door.
Right.
So
Because these people probably like, the fuck kind of noise is coming out this man's office? So I closed my door
Who the
every
hell
day
we
for the first
hired?
week.
Gotcha.
You know, and then like one of my mentors came like, yo, like, you got to open your door. Like we have, you know, open door policy. I was like, man, they don't want to hear it. I mean, I'm just trying not to disturb or
I heard
distract
that.
anybody.
Yes.
You know, so I felt like I couldn't be my authentic self.
Yep.
You know, starting in this
Because it's an
career.
all-white firm or mostly white firm?
I mean, every firm is mostly
Exactly.
national.
That makes sense,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, so it wasn't until like I was like 5 years in where I'm like, you know
Damn.
what? I've demonstrated that I'm not the token diverse attorney, right?
Yep.
I'm here because I'm talented, I'm competent, I'm a good
at what
fucking
I
lawyer.
do. Yep.
Yep. So once I started winning some cases, winning some arguments, I was like, okay, now I'm comfortable. Now I get to be me.
Exactly.
So
Door
then, like,
open.
I started to lax a lot of, like, man, the firm I'm at now, my floor, like, there's people when I started there always wearing suits.
Mm-hmm.
I literally will be like much more casual, and you know, have these conversations like, why do I need unless I'm going to court where I got to put on a suit? Why am I going to be in a suit every day?
And you know, you kind of answered the question because I was literally going to ask you this question about. See, you're of Asian descent.
Yep.
We're black. And we got a code switch in America.
I stopped
in corporate
code switching.
America, right?
It's exhausting. I
Right.
stopped doing
No,
it.
no, it is. But what I'm saying is like, did you feel like you had to code switch and conform to corporate America?
Absolutely.
But you just answered the question.
Yeah, I
You know
think
what I'm saying?
the sociological term is a double consciousness, right? So it's kind of like you're living two lives. Like I remember, again, when I was at my first firm.
Double consciousness.
Double conscious, yeah.
Okay.
So
Right, sit down.
my ex-wife would call, and I'd answer the phone. And she was like, is this corporate Chris or is this Chris? And she was like, I don't know who the hell just answered this phone.
Right,
You don't
sit
sound like you
down.
at all.
Sis,
You know?
what's up?
And so then after a while, I was like, let me close this door when I get a personal call. Because they don't want to be like, what is this riffraff that's coming out this office?
Right,
you know?
right,
So-
right.
And you know, so I had to play that role. But that's the thing, it's like, you know, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality we live in. And until you know, develop and you know, are confident and you can demonstrate, look, my work product speaks for itself, regardless of how I dress
For sure.
or where I hang out.
Yep.
Man,
Anything else?
I'm sure a lot of people were like,
Still
"Oh,
delivering.
man, affirmative action got this motherfucker in here." You know what I mean? Like people,
No,
man, people
you know
be
what?
having them side ass
haters
comments.
do
They
say
really
that.
do.
No,
love
and
it.
you know what? That is how I got in there. So when I was in law school, there was a minority clerkship program. And it was like for first year law students, and they only accepted diverse students into the program.
Okay.
Right? And so there was like, you know, a few hundred applicants. I was one of 25 selected. So I
Damn.
got into this program, all diverse law students. And so that first summer when I was done, I got a job offer. Like,
There you go.
they're like, you come back next summer and you have a job when you're done. No questions asked.
Right.
Done.
So when I went back to law school and they were doing on-campus interviews and like, you know, employers were coming in talking to law students, I was on the side with the law firm.
Yeah.
And these kids was like,
How the hell you get over there?
why are you over there? And I'm like, I got a
Yes.
job. They're like, oh, that's that minority program.
Yes.
That's unfair. Like I didn't even have an opportunity. Like,
See, and
motherfucker, what?
And
Right.
what a lot of
Get
people
the fuck
don't
out my face,
understand
that
is like, quote unquote, I mean, it's not quote unquote, but affirmative action is like, yeah, they look at people of color or those type of minority candidates, right? But they're still looking at the cream of the crop.
Right.
Like their
so
grades
you don't
are
get to
just
be
as
very
a
good.
qualified.
fucking
Exactly.
JoJo
Yeah.
off the street
Right.
and getting this law firm
Right. It's
job.
like,
what
dude,
the
look
fuck?
at my shit. Like my grades, my bar,
Right.
all that. You know what I
I
mean?
just
So all that
had
shit
like
is on point.
an extra opportunity to bring me closer to what you are presented with every day. Because
Right.
truth be told, we got a bunch of white folks in these jobs that shouldn't be there and aren't qualified, right?
Yep.
But that are doing it strictly for like because people think they know what they're doing because of their skin color.
Right.
So all
or nepotism.
or nepotism. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So all this is let me give you just extra exposure, right?
Yeah.
And I think people think
It's to level the playing field.
It's to level
This
the
is
playing
what I
field.
tell, you know, this is what I told these law students back then. I was like, look, me and you about to take a race.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a starting line right here. You right at it. I'm 40 feet behind you.
Exactly.
Facts.
We're not even starting at
We
the
ain't
line.
even starting at the
Right.
same spot.
Exactly.
Like,
We're not even starting
Man.
there.
You
Yeah.
know, and that's the sad reality of it.
It is. And, so,
And that's still
yeah.
going, like, I still deal with that
Right.
as a legal professional.
Damn. In your career, being
In
a
my
partner, like
All of that.
still
You know,
doing
it's
it.
like, you know, the thing with the practice of law, it's entrepreneurial, right? So everybody's like, hey, we encourage you to do things how you want to do it. Now, if we are going to change and improve, you have to undo literally decades and decades of how things have been.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, it worked, from a financial standpoint. The firm is successful. You're doing well. But if you want to, get more diversity in here, you're gonna have to do things differently. And that cultural, change is hard, right? Because like, if I'm an old white lawyer and I have a case and I get along with John and we like to go hunting and fishing and golfing, none of which I do, by the way. It's easy for me to connect with John on the weekend because we're going to do that. We'll talk shopping.
We're already doing it.
He's going to inherently become my protege.
Yep.
And then you have Chris, who likes to hoop and go to hip hop concerts.
Listening to trap music.
The hell is we going to talk about?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and that's what I learned at the hard way. Like, there was like a standing happy hour every Friday at my old firm, and I was never invited to it.
You had to be invited to it.
Listen, there was an email that went out, and so one of my white counterparts who graduated from high school or from law school when I did, he was like, "Hey, are you going downstairs for happy?" And I was like, "What happy hour?" He's like, "What do you mean? We've been doing this for like 2 years." I was like, "What?"
No, I was never invited
I was
to that
like,
shit.
"He's like, aren't you on the email?" I was like, "No."
Shut the fuck
Damn,
up.
man, they left out the email,
Bro.
too?
You didn't even get the email.
Bro, I showed
fucked
up
up.
and I was like, "Oh, I see why I wasn't invited."
Oh,
you know what I'm
exactly,
saying?
exactly.
And that's the thing. And that happens like there's a ice fishing trip with like partners and associates.
Oh, yeah, you can leave me out of that shit.
But you're right, because I don't want to be in it. But the point is, like, inclusion is the invite.
Can I get
You're
an
allowed
email,
to come.
though?
I might not want to
Give
go,
me
but
the
at least give me the
opportunity to say.
opportunity to say no.
Exactly.
It's like, I shouldn't find out about this, by my colleagues.
Exactly.
Like, and that's what ends up happening. So, like,
Did you go, though?
I never got
You never
invited.
got an invite.
Oh, so man, I would have been that motherfucker that I would have just rolled in that shit.
No, man, but I mean, I did rock the boat because I was like, this is fucked up, and I'm outspoken, like things don't change unless you speak about it. You gotta be bold and be outspoken, but I learned so much because like, talking to my white counterpart, he was like, we talked, like that was my guy. And if he got bad or, if he did something, on a work product that was bad, it never went into his review because they would talk about that shit on ice fishing trip or what they go
And that was kind of like
so
the
it was like so they were inherently like training him, teaching him, mentoring him to succeed, just naturally
off the books
because they just hanging out.
Yep.
Whereas me, it was like, oh, you fucked up. Oh, you fucked, man. Right? This
because there's no other avenue to like talk about.
Put that in that file.
Yes.
Right, but that's the actual thing though. Like there was a Harvard study in which they had like a report by a black person and a white person. They were the exact same thing, like identical, but one with a black name on it, one with a white name on it, and they submitted it right to be, man, the person who the black name bloodied the paper.
Yes,
all kinds of criticisms and terrible. Other person.
Not so
perfectly
much.
fine.
And everything was identical.
It's
that happens
identical.
in schools a lot too, in the mental health community. Like
it's crazy.
Black, they've done the same kind of, but like mental health wise. So white kiddo, black kiddo, literal same symptoms and stuff. White kiddo gets ADHD diagnosis. Black kiddo gets emotional behavior disorder, which EBD, which doesn't get any support like anywhere.
Yep.
And so same thing. So it happens in schools too, even with our young kiddos. So
no, it absolutely does, and that's. That's often a result of like systems being how they are.
For sure.
We talk about systemic racism, institutional racism. I mean, there's histories and histories of things being a certain way. Man, you got to unwind a lot of shit and unpack a lot of things.
It's gonna take a long time.
For real.
It definitely ain't happening. I mean,
but I feel like our like right now, millennials, Gen Zs, like I feel like this shit is actually moving.
Yeah,
I feel like the generation under us are going to like change the world.
Yeah,
they calling out their racist uncles.
Yeah.
They fucking up school teachers. They say we not doing this shit no more.
At this point, you have no choice, though.
I mean,
it's
literally,
like,
right? They've got all these like gender
everything is in your face,
and they say y'all ain't about to treat us like crap no more. We ain't about to have that.
Yeah, we've been moving at a snail pace for 400 years, but I mean, it's like to your point, I think we're starting to get a little bit of traction.
We have to.
Long overdue, but I mean.
Agreed.
Some movement is better than no movement.
Agreed. And then people will say too, like the system is broken. And my perspective is it's not broken because it's operating exactly how they want it to operate.
It was never, supposed to be that way.
Yeah, I agree. Gosh, just so much. I will ask for my question, especially knowing that you grew up in North. How do you connect with your Asian ancestry side? I mean, it's just a question. There's a big Hmong community here. That
huge,
I know.
Huge. It's like the second largest outside of.
I don't know a lot about Minneapolis demographics, but I know there's a big Hmong community. Huge, yes. So it sounds like you have a sibling, so it's two of y'all.
Yep.
Got mom. They're still here, like they still live in Twin
Yep.
Cities.
So in the Twin
Minneapolis?
Cities. Yep. So my
Okay.
sister is here and my mom is here. So my mom is one of two from her family in the U.S. So my
Okay.
mom's entire side of the family is still in Vietnam.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So the
Okay.
only real family I had was my dad's side of the family, and
they
they're
were
all
here.
in California.
Gotcha,
Yep. So
okay.
they're there. So I'm cool with them now, but obviously don't see them as often.
For sure.
So really, like the only Asian folks I kick with are at happy hour.
Really?
The ones that come turn
Oh,
up
wow.
with me, like
Shut up.
Wow.
I'm dead serious.
Okay.
So I, and a lot of them I met at happy hour, and now
Wow.
it's kind of like, yo, we having a good time,
Like
so
legit,
come
yeah.
out, So yesterday, one of my guys came. He was probably like my only Asian childhood friend. I've known him my whole life,
Okay.
and he came to happy hour yesterday, and had a drink. And so it's like outside of those one-offs, I really don't have much connection, to the Asian culture, unfortunately. But it is what it is.
Man,
Okay.
like this question kind of comes to mind because it's based off of yours. Like, what stereotype is out there about the Asian community that you like,
That's a good
that you
one.
embrace, where you're like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck, I'm Asian, I like it. And then what's one that you're like, nah, I don't rock with that. I don't like that.
A lot of them actually cut both ways, right? So there's
The
this
small penis one is out there a lot.
that's
I'll
out
just
there.
say it. Yeah.
Well, I haven't had any complaints.
just-
I mean,
He's like, that don't apply to me.
Three
Yeah.
kids later, I heard that.
right. So that one is definitely out there. And then I think the one that cuts both ways is the model minority.
Ooh.
So Asians are thought of like
yes.
the model minority because
Passive.
smart as shit, like
Oh,
the
yeah.
brainiacs, that.
You contribute to society.
Exactly.
Like,
Right. So I mean, it's good to be thought of as being
Stereotypical.
smart, but at the same time, that whole myth is false.
You're good
You
at
know.
math. Like,
Yeah,
got it.
exactly.
Yep.
That type of thing. And the other thing, is I think what you just said. You're submissive, you're reserved, shy, and quiet. And that is mostly like a cultural thing, depending on, during this whole pandemic, I was watching this show, it was like adopted
Fresh
by
Off the
Bruce Lee. It's like, what was that?
Oh, be like, isn't it Be Like Water?
No,
It's
it
not
was
Fresh
it
Off
was
the
like
Boat.
it was like adopted based on his life, but it was pretty much the setting was like in the 1800s when all the Chinese were coming to San Francisco to build the railroad,
Of course, yeah.
right? And so it's kind of like how they
Second
were
class
treated,
citizens.
right?
Yeah.
The exclusionary was like, yo, they were shitted on, and that was like the first time I ever learned about any of that, like through watching
Man.
this show, and I was like, yo, this is crazy, like this is how they're treated, and so like white person, like they're looking down, they're just like it was, to see that,
And you said you
And
watched
I'm-
it during the pandemic?
I watched
Okay.
it, yep. And I'm nothing like that. Like I am very outgoing, extrovert.
That's the north side.
Yep.
But that's exactly my point. So it's
Yeah.
like your environment is what develops you, right? So your circumstances are the building blocks of your character. What you go through, what you're exposed to, what you're around.
Yep.
If I'm in a family setting where it's like everybody's like that, I'm gonna be like that
For sure.
But that wasn't
Because that's just your
Man,
surroundings.
I'm telling you, both of y'all and listeners, watch Bruce Lee's Be Like Water.
What is that?
I've heard about
Man,
that. I haven't seen it.
Man, so Bruce
know what that
Lee, he was constantly fighting racism. Like, they were always trying to typecast him as just like, oh, you're going to be a kung fu guy, da, da, da.
Yeah,
And he was
yeah,
like, dude,
yeah.
I'm trying to be an actor too, though.
Gotcha. Like,
And
not
then
just
he's-
actor in this way.
So he's talking about the racism that was in Hollywood then for him being an Asian actor. And then he was just also addressing Black, Hispanic, Asian racism that was in the community that he was in.
Yeah.
And so it's dope as fuck, man.
So, like, two
because I didn't know
things.
he was that woke. I really didn't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, what we see him in, right?
Exactly.
I've seen him in Rush Hours and stuff. So,
You
two
talking about Jackie
things.
Chan, fool.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
Bruce, I was like,
Bruce Lee died.
ain't alive.
Bruce Lee died in like
I am so
70s.
embarrassed.
He's like 70s.
Then I'll keep whatever I was going to say to myself.
I know, you're good.
Oh, okay. That's okay. So Bruce Lee, like water.
It's all
Everyone
good.
watch.
I'm fucking with
Ferris
that.
knows what's up.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah.
Okay. This
yeah.
is related to your kiddos.
Yep.
So Black and Asian, how do you help them connect? Like, oh, I guess I should say, do they identify that way? Black and Asian? Because I've heard that so I'm fully Black. So I've heard that some biracial like kiddos will identify more with one than the other. I have a previous supervisor who said her kiddos I think, only identify as Black, and she's the like white parent, so that makes her feel some kind of way, right? Because they're both. So I'm curious as to how your kiddos identify and how you help them connect all parts, and especially the Vietnamese part, because that's how you identify.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, my kids identify with both, you know, and that's a testament to, you know, the awesome co-parenting, you know, between me and their mom, right?
A whole other conversation. Like, you know, I love that.
You ask my kids, you know, they was like, your favorite food is pho, which is Vietnamese cuisine, which my mom makes.
Yes.
You know, so their grandma makes that. And then, you know, and chicken wings.
Because
the mom makes their best chicken wings ever.
What kind of like chicken wings they like? What's their flavor?
Dry rub, like just
lemon pepper. They like lemon pepper. Okay.
Yeah,
they
exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know, so it's like, you know, they get it from both sides, like from their mom and her extended family, and then my family, and they go to Chinese immersion school.
Nice.
So they know Mandarin full time, right?
Awesome.
So they are.
Do you speak Mandarin?
No.
Okay.
They probably be talking all kinds of shit. I don't even know what they're saying.
They talking shit.
You know, but yeah, so they're very, you know, much exposed to the Asian culture through both school.
Good.
You know, they're really close with my mom and my sister on that side of the family, as well as, you know, their mom's side of the family. You know, like, so, you know, they're happy. They get it from all sides. They understand it. I mean, you know, so.
Absolutely. So real quick, Chartel, what has you exhausted? Because I'm running up on time.
Life. Okay. Oh, what does have me exhausted? I think I feel like you, Ferris, this weekend, maybe not a lot. Oh, you know what has me exhausted? Home buying.
Yes.
Exhausted.
But it's a good exhausted because you know the end goal,
I mean,
that's an investment in yourself.
Right. And I'm like, you know, if I see homes on the market that I like, but then they're gone, then I'm like, oh, that wasn't for me.
COVID right now is the best. Like, if you're a seller, you're killing it. You're going to make so much over profit.
Like, bitches are playing out here. Telling some got a whole home, like, valued at like 150. I'm gonna charge 300,000. You better pay closing costs. All this shit. You ain't about to get me. I ain't desperate for a home.
I'll wait for the next crash.
Let me tell you, I ain't desperate for a home now.
It's coming.
Yeah,
and that's like kind of what my realtor said. She's like, we're not like in a rush. You ain't about to get me. There are people out here. So my friends will say like, oh, how much did you offer over? Did you waive the inspection? Fuck that shit. Like, I'm not doing all that. Like, I'm gonna stay within my budget. I'm gonna get my inspections. And if that house flies off the market, God said it wasn't for me anyway.
Right.
So yes, home buying has me exhausted. And that's me.
What about you, Mr. Pham?
You know, I would say this whole pandemic has been exhausting, man. Like the Zoom fatigue is legit.
It's real.
You know, the work from home and having to be a part-time teacher because my kids were learning from home.
You're like, this ain't my guy.
Technology, energy. Like, I ain't go to school to be no damn teacher.
This ain't on my resume. Like, damn, I got to be a teacher.
We all
teaching long division to third grade. This is not. I didn't sign up for this.
And then it's like you haven't did it in so long. You're like, damn. Like, do I know this?
Teach that shit crazy. So like when I was doing treatment for like kiddos in schools, I'm like, no, what are you doing? You borrow from the house next door and you do all this. They got dots and shit.
Man, their whole way of learning is so different now, man.
Shit. I was like, I don't know what your teacher teaching you, but let me teach you the right way.
I had to email the teacher. It was like, I need you to send me a video clip of how y'all do this long division, the way y'all teach it, dry erase board. I'm like, I need to see this because I don't know what they talking about.
Seriously, we all back in school. That's just funny. It's like, yes, to the pandemic. You exhausted this week, Ferris? Because last week you said you weren't exhausted.
Yeah, I really wasn't. Like, it was
be exhausted.
I was just good. But I think the only thing that has me exhausted right now, honestly, is this whole, I'm glad the mask mandate is softening.
Today's the first day where it's like, all the restrictions.
But man, people are really coming, like, they're like, are you vaccinated? Da, 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 da. And it's like, dude, well,
look,
whether I am or not, like, that's HIPAA. Like, you can't,
mind your fucking business.
You can't, exactly. You can't be on me about that shit.
You know, I get it.
So I think that honestly is just exhausting as fuck. But hey, shit, the summer's here. It's gorgeous out. There's not really a lot of shit to
What's
be exhausted.
What's your hashtag for the summer?
Side niggas. All day. That's it.
Yes, mine is hot girl summer, but yes.
Look, how's there? You know what I'm saying? How is there a hot girl summer when everybody tired by 10, right? Because we just now opening up.
Super exhausted. I gotta do it in increments. Like I gotta inch my way towards staying out later. Because I think 2 weeks ago when I was at Exchange, I feel like I closed the club down. And I looked around, I was like, oh my gosh. Then this week I left at like 11:30, so I gotta inch my way up.
Like I'm part-time at a bar now. So you know what I mean? We close at 2 and then I ain't out till like 4.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, granted I'm not drinking but I'm out in that life.
That makes a huge difference. Like, you know, I was out of town the last 2 weeks And that still got me exhausted to this point. Like, last weekend in Vegas, out till 5 a.m. on Friday.
See.
Week before that, Miami, out till 5. Like, the sun is coming up. And I'm like, I'm not built for this no more. Right. I am not built for this no more.
Farrah's a lot older than me, so I'd be like, I'd be just trying to like live. I'm like, oh, was that a creak I heard?
So Chris, real quick, where can everyone find you at?
Yes.
Y'all definitely can find me on Instagram, Chris _Pham, PHAM _ESQ. I'm also on LinkedIn by my name, Chris Pham. Same thing on Facebook. And other than that, you can find me at the Exchange every Friday night for
downtown
R&B and
Minneapolis.
chill, downtown Minneapolis, 5th and Hennepin, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. And actually tonight, we're throwing a party tonight at Hyde.
Yes.
For Memorial Day weekend. The Red, White, and Denim party is tonight, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Yes.
So come check us out.
And you all throw parties once a month at Hyde, right?
There's been talk about going back to weekly, so we'll see.
Okay.
When we talk about being exhausted, man, that was
got you exhausted.
Because then you would have Exchange.
Entrepreneurship.
Fridays and Saturdays, yep. And then the parenting thing.
Yes.
Man.
We're going to keep y'all updated on Elevate Our Network, where they are and how often they are out partying, because they parties be lit AF.
Yes. So follow my man Chris.
Please.
Follow us. You know where to follow us. We've been saying it for the last 5 episodes. It should be on the screen somewhere around here.
We'll do it at Chopping It Up on Instagram, CHOPPN It Official. You'll get our tags. And subscribe. We're on Pandora now.
Yeah, we're on Pandora now. That's a new partnership.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
So we got it.
Official.
Yeah. So thank you for tuning in.
Please.
Episode motherfucking 6.
Yes.
God damn.
Yeah, thanks y'all for having me, man.
Always,
this was fun.
always.
Appreciate
we'll
it,
have
brother.
you again.
Take care.
See y'all next week, guys.